Hey, what's up guys, TommoF1 here. In today's video we're going to be reviewing F1 pundits and commentators in a tier list. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Right, so here we are then on this tier list, and there's one guy, Tommo, one legendary Formula 1 commentator you've missed out on here. I can't believe you've done it. It's James Allen. So for me, James Allen would go absolutely right to the top of S tier. I'll add him in there somehow. How you've missed James Allen out, I have no idea, to be honest. But yeah, let's get straight into it. First up, let's go with the outgoing Ben Edwards. In C tier for me. He is good at what he does, of course, don't get me wrong. As a Formula 1 main commentator though on Channel 4, I don't know, he didn't add anything to me. He didn't capture my, interest as much as, past Formula 1 commentators have. And even David Croft, as bad as that sounds, so we're going to put David Croft up here. Where is it? We're going to put him one above him, B, just because I think he does. I don't know what it is about. It's just the voice, and it's a bit harsh to say, and especially coming from a voice like mine. But for me, David Croft's voice just sounds, I don't know, it sounds more fitting to the job. Ben Edwards probably does have more knowledge of Formula 1 than David Croft, it has to be said. And I like Ben Edwards and David Coulthard as a partnership, but for me, I always associate Ben Edwards with a lower tier of broadcasting, and I know that sounds a bit harsh because he did used to broadcast British touring car championships and other motorsports, and he did used to commentate on Formula 1 on Eurosport, I believe, with John Watson back in the 90s. So he's been in Formula 1 a while, so he does know his Formula 1 stuff, but I don't know, Ben Edwards' voice just never did it for me. Whereas David Croft, yes, he makes mistakes, but everyone on this list has made mistakes. Everyone. So I don't think you can bash anyone just because they've made a few mistakes here and there or make a few silly comments. Because you're live on telly in most cases. You're talking whilst trying to present or commentate whilst watching what's going on or taking stuff in. Mistakes are going to happen. Chill. So, next up. We are going to go with Johnny Herbert, who I'm going to put in C or B. I'm going to put him in B. He seems like that class clown that, messes around a lot, doesn't take it fully seriously, but if he was to take it seriously, he can do the job and he gets his head down. And he's good at what he does as well, Johnny Herbert, to be fair. He just is that class clown, which is entertaining, to be fair. And especially alongside Damon Hill. I think those two actually work brilliantly alongside each other. Of course, they raced together in Formula 1 in the 90s. Yeah, for me, those two just work really well, and they're on a B level tier. Steve Jones. I think as a presenter, he is far superior to what Sky have as a presenter for their show. I mean, I don't know whether it's his Welsh charisma or his good looks or whatever it is, but something about Steve Jones, and it was the same with Jake Humphries, to be fair. They both did an excellent job. Of course, I think Jake Humphries was actually a sports presenter before he went over to Formula 1, so that helps a lot in this situation. But Steve Jones, I think he took it on and did really well with it, to be fair. And he did a better job than Susie did for Channel 4, in my opinion. Speaking of the other side on Sky, where is he? Where have you hidden? There you are, Simon Lazenby, down into D. I'm not saying he does a bad job because, again, his role is just presenting, but when you've got Steve Jones on the other side smashing it out the park, I think Simon Lazenby, he just falls flat for me. And I feel like if Sky were to replace him tomorrow with someone else, would anyone miss him? I know that sounds harsh. Of course people would miss him, but I don't think he's as fully integrated into that role as some other people could be. But let's go with another person in D, and that for me is Eddie Jordan. If you'd have asked Eddie Jordan back in the early 2010s when BBC came back in 2009, I possibly would have put him in B, yeah, they worked well together in those early years, but I feel since he made that bold prediction of Hamilton and Mercedes, he's gone off the rails a bit. He's turned into a nutty Irishman who doesn't really think about what he says, and he has that good insight of owning a Formula 1 team and running a Formula 1 team, which is good, but other than that, I actually think he has gone sort of past his best. But I think his earlier work has saved him from going into E, because he was a fantastic asset for BBC, to be honest, but I think he's fallen a little bit since 2012 and 13, in my opinion. Next up, we will go with Paul di Resta. He's going to go into C. Again, does a fine job at what he does. I think as a pundit, he does a far better job than in the commentary box. I think if you take him away from the commentary box as much as possible, free practice sessions are fine, of course, because, you know, not many people tune into that. And him, Karun Chandhok and David Croft do a good job in that commentary box, and Anthony Davidson for free practices with the rotations they have going on with the insight. They all bring in different slightly levels of that. But I think stick him as a pundit, he's probably higher up the C ladder for me. But I think his commentary, the stuff he does in the commentary box slightly falls a little bit with that. He's just a bit boring, in my opinion, for the commentary box. Next up, we will go with the Anthony Davidson, who I'm going to put into A. I am going to put him into A. I like his stuff in the commentary box. I think I'd like to see him. I wonder if he'd replace Martin Brundle when Martin eventually gives it up, because him and David Croft, they actually sound like a good duo as well, to be fair. I like Ant's insight that he brings. Of course, he's not on the level of Martin Brundle. He did actually used to commentate on BBC 5 Radio or Radio 5 Live or something like that. And he did do a couple ITV roles as well. So he has been in the commentary box for a little bit. And yeah, he's a quality act, and I like his punditry stuff too, with the Skypad. Brilliant. Good stuff. Let's move over to Channel 4, and for me, Mark Webber goes into A tier. Very surprised when they brought him in to Channel 4, to be honest. I didn't expect Mark Webber to go for an on-screen pundit role, but he does it very well, especially alongside this man, David Coulthard, who is top end of A, probably above Anthony Davidson. His commentary stuff is fantastic. His best year, in my opinion, was alongside Martin Brundle in 2011. But for me, David Coulthard is top level. He's great on screen. He's great in the commentary box. He is a perfect fit for that Channel 4 commentary role, really. Again, if he was on Sky with Martin Brundle, I would love that. But I think he is a good supporting commentator as well. And David Coulthard is a great commentator. Next up, we are going to go with Karun Chandhok, who also is going to go into A tier. His insight is mad. How he can just pluck off something from 1972, you know, on lap 53, for example. It's beyond me. I can remember little facts of Formula 1 from past decades that I wasn't even alive, but Karun's he's on another level, and his punditry stuff is genuinely on another level as well. He's a fantastic asset for Sky F1, as is this man Jenson Button. I mean, as a driver, I always rated Jenson. When he did his stuff with Lewis Hamilton in BBC, when they were teammates, he did that short piece. There was always something about Jenson where you could believe that he could do an on-screen role, and he does it really well, to be honest. So what else is there to say? I think perfect lineup for Sky. Ted Kravitz, I'm going to put him in top end of B, I think, because he's not everyone's cup of tea. I think in his interviews he can be a little bit frustrating, a bit awkward, a bit annoying, but his Ted's notebook, his pit lane reports, they are fantastic, to be fair, especially the pre-season stuff when he goes through the cars and the upgrades and all those things. I actually loved watching those when the hybrid era came in, just to see, you know, what the cars were, you know, what was about them really. And he's a good pit lane reporter. He's a good pundit. I like Ted. Just awkward. Next up, we will go with Natalie Pinkham, who is going to go into C. Again, she does a good job. I think she has a good connection, especially in interviews with some of the drivers. But I don't think she adds much to the team in the same way that Paul di Resta doesn't really add a lot to it either, in my opinion, of course. But as I say, does a good job. Just, I think if you replaced her, I don't think too many people would be terribly upset. I mean, she has been on and off, to be fair, with the pregnancies she's had, so she does a good job though, so she can go into C. Another person who I think go into the C category, Billy Munger. Again, I get why Channel 4 have added him into their lineup. I don't think I just don't think he adds a lot to that team, really. He's very young, you can tell he's still sort of new to it, he's still building, on that. But next up, we will go with, let's go with Lawrence Pender C. He's getting on there, isn't he? He's getting better, he's gaining confidence. And the job he did when he replaced Will Buxton when Will had coronavirus, I think he did a good job there as a replacement. I think both him and Will, actually, they are in their perfect roles at the moment. I don't think they need to do any more. I don't think they need to do any less. I think what they do is perfect in that Formula 1 team. And yeah, top marks to both of them really on that. They work well together. I don't really see need for change. Another person who is just good at what they do is Rachel Brooks. I'm going to put her into the top end to C. She could go bottom end to B. She does a good job. She's been in Formula 1 a while now, has Rachel Brooks, and she's just good at what she does. She doesn't blow your mind, as I don't think anyone in that C tier really blows your mind when you see them on screen, but they're just good at what they do. And I think that's the difference between B, A, and especially S. But I think B, the step up from C to B is really they add either a bit of pepper and of excellence to the lineup, or they just blow your mind with whatever they do on screen. But for me, Rachel Brooks, I think she is just very good at what she does, really. So again, she could go bottom end to B, but I'm going to put her in top end to C. Let's go with the new man for Channel 4 commentary. I think his work, especially for Formula 2, I think it was fantastic. We will have to see how he gets on in Formula 1. I'm going to knock him down a bit just because we haven't seen him as a Formula 1 commentator on, well, it won't be live because it'll be Channel. He'll be commentating it live, but it won't be broadcast live. So I think he'll do a good job for Channel 4. I really do. I think he is the perfect man to replace Ben Edwards. He will have that bit of voice, that bit of characterness that Ben Edwards, I don't know, just it didn't connect with me. But I think Alex will connect, especially with David Coulthard. I think they will get on really well in that commentary box. Because David Coulthard, he's just professional, isn't he? He'll bring the best out of Alex as well. I mean, Alex has said himself he's, really excited for that opportunity. Let's see how he gets on. So then, let's go with Nico Rosberg, who again is on the same level as Jenson Button and Mark Webber for me. Perfect man into the Sky lineup. He does the perfect amount as well, in my opinion. He doesn't do too much, doesn't do too little. His insight into a Formula 1 driver is, it's fantastic. It's also very modern compared to some of the other drivers on the list. He obviously has had that experience alongside Lewis Hamilton. He could be biased in some ways for and against Lewis in certain situations, but I think Nico is a good lineup. He's probably below Mark and Jensen a little bit, but for me, A tier. Right. Shall we get on to the shock? I think we shall. Jonathan Ledgard. I'm going to put him top end of A. I started watching Formula 1 2010. So the first season of Formula 1, he was the main commentator in that commentary box alongside Martin Brundle alongside him. And for me, Jonathan Ledgard, I think he was really good at what he did. Again, he did make mistakes, as has everyone on this list, so I'm not going to bang on about that. But I don't know where his background for commentary came from, whether he was a sports commentator or what he was, but I think he did a solid job. But whatever reason they replaced him, or he left, or he got sacked, whatever the reason was, or if he just, he did a really good job in the 2009 and 10 season, I feel like. I think he had hard shoes to fill, replacing James Allen as main commentator on the main Formula 1 show. But, I think Jonathan Ledgard, I don't think he got enough credit, but maybe that's just nostalgia filling my head. So let's go with the not so very surprising. Murray Walker, Martin Brundle, both up in S tier. I won't hear anything else about that. Both are just legends of the Formula 1 commentary scene. Murray Walker, of course, he was doing Formula 1 for decades, and there's a reason why. He was fantastic at what he did. He was the voice of Formula 1, the voice of motorsport. And when Martin Brundle joined alongside him in '97, I think it was. I mean, in fact, what a job Martin Brundle did in that first year. And again, that's why he's been going since then as well. They are both fantastic. And I loved Martin Brundle in 2011 season as the main commentator. It's his only time he has, actually, which is weird. I think Martin likes to be the support commentator for whatever reason, or whether maybe Sky just feel like they needed a more generic main presenter. I don't really know the reason for that, but his 2011 work alongside David Coulthard, absolutely fantastic, solidified that S level tier. And Murray Walker, he has to be a Sir, surely at some point, but I don't decide who gets to be a Sir. Maybe after Lewis Hamilton gets knighted, maybe after Lewis Hamilton gets knighted, Murray can too. And then last up, we're going to go with James Hunt. James Hunt can go into bottom end of B, I think. He was chalk and cheese with Murray. He was the polar opposite of Murray Walker. You hear so many stories about the pair of them working together. He was straight talking, straight to the point. It helped him in some ways, not in others, but I think they were a good lineup, those two. Obviously, you can tell sometimes the friction in the box between them, but they did come on to be good friends towards the end, and sadly when James passed away in '93. But yeah, I do think he was a good commentator, but I do think Martin Brundle was that step up that they needed in that commentary box. And that is my tier list. Fairly happy with that, I think. As I say, there's not a single person on this list I think does a bad job at all. I think they all do a good job at least. But D and C. D for me, they're either past their best or someone could replace them and they wouldn't be noticed. And C, they just do a good job, really, but nothing special about them, in my opinion. But hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more. And until next time, take care.